When I was 11, I started sleeping a lot more frequently than normal, and I kind of realized something was off.
At first, I really didn't know what was wrong with me.
I was overtired, excessively overtired.
I just went from a person who really liked school and would have never fallen asleep in class to someone who couldn't keep her eyes open.
I slept a lot, and also occasionally I would fall over when I laughed.
I would lose control of my whole body or my upper body, which would make me fall.
It's overwhelming feeling that takes over my body, and I can't even function really.
Over 200,000 Americans and 3 million people worldwide suffer from narcolepsy.
Narcolepsy is a chronic neurologic condition that causes a core symptom of excessive daytime sleepiness. And generally the sleepiness is subtle in the sense that it's only when they're not being stimulated or in an engaging circumstance. So it's a very rare patient with narcolepsy who would actually fall asleep, for instance, while talking or doing something active. In addition, narcolepsy produces symptoms of what's called hypnagogic or hypnopompic hallucinations, which are basically hallucinations before or after sleep, as well as a symptom called sleep paralysis, which is a symptom of feeling like the body's paralyzed upon awakening. These symptoms can be more rare than the excessive daytime sleepiness. Up to 50% of patients can also have a symptom called cataplexy, which is a symptom of a loss of motor tone or muscle weakness that occurs after a strong emotion, such as laughter, anger, or frustration.
Narcolepsy most often appears in the preteen and teen years, but is severely underrecognized and usually misdiagnosed.
The symptoms of narcolepsy sometimes can be very subtle to a patient and only be really clearly manifested when teachers or parents start noticing the symptoms of excessive daytime sleepiness.
Being a mother of a child with narcolepsy is extremely challenging because you look at your child and he looks perfectly fine on the outside, but in the inside his body is wreaking havoc with sleepiness and other symptoms of narcolepsy. Also, every decision has to be thought through carefully. Any sleepovers, time with friends, school schedule, everything has to be thought through very carefully. There can be no haphazard decisions.
It's important for teachers to know when students are suffering from narcolepsy because it really can look like a lot of other teenagers who are just tired and falling asleep in class a lot of the time. And it's important to understand that this is something different, and even though it might look kind of typical teenage behavior, it really needs to be treated differently.
For people with narcolepsy, the first major hurdle is receiving an accurate diagnosis. The second is finding a physician who can properly manage treatment. And the third is adjusting to living with the disease.
When I was diagnosed, I felt pretty shocked because I had never heard of anyone that had narcolepsy, and it seemed like a pretty rare disease. So I felt kind of scared too because I didn't really know what you were supposed to do and how you're supposed to treat it.
I felt relieved that I was diagnosed, but when I went home, it wasn't the same as when before all the symptoms started happening. It wasn't like I went back to my normal life, I guess you could say. I went back and had to manage myself, my medicine. I had to manage taking naps during the day, and this is in the 5th grade, so I didn't really want to.
Advocacy has been, a huge part of me being able to accept that I have narcolepsy and to also help others understand, because I finally realized that, I can't just expect people to understand what's going on. By being able to educate people on it and meet others, that's been the best thing for me.
When Monica Gow's son Thomas started exhibiting symptoms at age 10, the Gow family was troubled by the lack of awareness about the disease among the public and medical community. It prompted them, along with Kevin Cosgrove, a young adult with narcolepsy, to form Wake Up Narcolepsy, a nonprofit organization to create awareness and support medical research.
My son had a 3-month period of not knowing what he had when he was dealing with the symptoms of narcolepsy. And we learned that people go 8 to 10 years before being properly diagnosed. So with that fact, and then learning about the complexity of narcolepsy and all of the symptoms that people experience when they have narcolepsy, And also, in addition to that, the lack of awareness of the general public and with the medical community, we felt as though something needed to be done to help people with narcolepsy. So we started Wake Up Narcolepsy.
As a co-founder and somebody with narcolepsy, I'm personally always hold the goals very high, and we've accomplished some significant things. We have conducted several campaigns, awareness programs, charity events. We have had involvement from not only the initial founders and those volunteers that started with Wake Up Narcolepsy, but patients with narcolepsy, families traveling hundreds of miles to come to events and really help their loved ones get what they need.
There's a lot of research going on in narcolepsy right now. Much of the research is based on identifying what brain areas are involved in causing narcolepsy and its related symptom of cataplexy. Different ways of diagnosing narcolepsy, whether it's through a blood test or other sensitive measures such as what we call biomarkers. There's new research in terms of treatment for narcolepsy, especially for special populations such as children with narcolepsy. There's other areas of research that are trying to increase the number of orexin receptors, or the way that the cells communicate with one another, to improve the symptoms or actually stop the symptoms of narcolepsy.
Wake Up Narcolepsy provides many services to people with narcolepsy. We host fundraisers, and with that money we support research at Stanford University and Harvard, and also at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. And then we also work closely with many clinicians in the research community to work to educate others about narcolepsy. So we have awareness events. We also have a program that educates school nurses and teachers called Narcolepsy Goes to School. And then we also talk with parents, and we communicate with people on a personal level and help in any way we can, whether it be a parent of a child with narcolepsy or a person with narcolepsy.
Every advance in the understanding of narcolepsy is based on research. Wake Up Narcolepsy is committed to advancing research and encourages people with narcolepsy and their families to learn about opportunities to participate in research studies and clinical trials. To learn more about narcolepsy and how you can spread awareness and support research for a cure, we urge you to visit our website and social media.